Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Marie and I will be the host for today's webinar. Before we dive into the content, let me cover a few housekeeping items. First, at the bottom of your screen are multiple application engagement tools that you can use. All those engagement tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. You can also expand your presentation area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any audio or video issues, you can find answers to some common technical issues located in the help widget at the bottom of your screen. Please note that a copy of today's slide deck and additional help materials are available in the resource list that should appear on the right of the presentation area. Please have a look and download everything that you may find useful. This webinar will be recorded and sent via the email you registered with. Lastly, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can submit them through the Q&A widget. We'll have a short Q&A session at the end where we'll select some questions coming from the audience, but you don't have to wait the end of the presentation to send over your questions. We're here to answer you live via the chat, so don't be shy. In case we run out of time or we didn't manage to answer your questions, we'll make sure to follow up later by email. Now, allow me to introduce you to our speakers. So today, the webinar will be co-hosted by Fabian Koark and Adrian Rolufs. Fabian Koark gained his expertise in over 70 projects with OEMs and suppliers in Germany, USA, and China. As consultant for engineering projects and organization, he is an expert for system and organization optimization. Already in 2008, he supported the functional safety ramp-up of the automotive industry by standardizing critical driving scenarios for commercial vehicles. From 2009 and 2011, he managed strategic vehicle architecture and automotive spice reorganization projects, followed by ISO 26262 rollout projects for OEMs and suppliers. In 2011, he established the Center of Excellence for Organizational Change. Since 2016, Fabian Koark manages all North American activities from the INVENSITY office in Detroit, Michigan. Adrian, on his side, is the Automotive Solutions Lead at Jama Software. He's been working with Jama for over 5 years, focusing on setting up data models and processes for new automotive and semiconductor customers. Before working at Jama, he was product definer at Maxim Integrated, using Jama Connect to define requirements for audio and power management products for the consumer electronic market. He's been writing requirements for complex hardware software system for over 15 years and writing requirements in Jama Connect for over 7 years. So after this quick introduction, I'll hand it over to Fabian, who will walk you through the agenda and will also just start his presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is Fabian Koark. I also welcome everybody who joins us to this webinar, and thanks to Jama Software for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. And Adrian, I'm looking forward to our discussion a little bit later in this webinar. So let's start a little bit with the overview of our agenda today. What we want to cover, and it's not equally balanced, but definitely we would like to look into the challenge of requirements, engineering and management, basically covered by the necessary requirements engineering cycle. And we will not be too shy to look into how that will look different or need to look different regarding the involved roles in the engineering life cycle. We'll talk about an interesting approach of feature descriptions, and we will not stop before we take a deep look into requirements, engineering, and management tools. We will have enough time afterwards for an interesting discussion. Looking forward to good questions, and we will do our best to answer those. So let's get started. Me personally, I'm working in the field of requirements management for different industries, for different customers for a long time. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, I believe in 2021, especially the automotive industry has understood requirements management and engineering, and we will have achieved a certain level of excellence. It turned out that is not yet the case. We still see environments where individuals engineers, developers are very challenged in doing the right things around requirements, analyzing requirements, writing requirements, making sure that we have the right requirements together before we even start the project, and really look into what were the requirements from the previous project? What were the requirements, or what are the requirements for the target market? Maybe we have a new target market. We develop a similar product, but now it should also be operational and has a great user experience in South America, a market that we were not willing to enter before. And also to see, maybe we deliver in a business, not in a business to customer, but in a business to business relationship. So that means we have to look into the very specific standards and the very specific requirements of our business customer. But what we see still today, it's a lot of copy-paste, unorganized work around requirements. And this webinar should help us to get a little bit order into this chaos. I think we can talk about high complex environments and systems and processes, but in the end, it comes down to a very simple process. And what I see today, and what I've seen in the past, that we as engineering leaders often underestimate the first two steps. The considerably simple task of reading and understanding a requirement. And I think these first two steps are still very important. And we have to make sure that we give our engineers the right time, the right tool to do these things. And when I say understanding, I really mean achieve a level of comprehension. That also means in a lot of different areas that we might disagree. We might know better, and we need to develop a space where engineers can exchange their disagreement. Because for everybody who's been in product development a long time, disagreement is a fantastic source for innovation. And therefore, if we agree or disagree on requirement, we can move the project really forward. And also to say, I don't believe with the existing budget restrictions that we see in this project, we can fulfill a certain requirement. That also means we might need to give the engineering team the power to reject something. And whatever the outcome of this step of understanding and comprehension is, it moves the project further. No matter if we reject something and then initiate an escalation and a discussion about a specific requirement, maybe initiate a renegotiation of an engineering budget. This all is a very productive activity, and we should not underestimate that. And then moving forward in the other steps, and also understanding that comprehension of a requirement is not the same as analyzing the impact of the requirement. Especially, we will come back to this a little bit later, but we really have to understand how difficult, how complex is this requirement? How challenging will it be for us to implement it and to achieve the performance targets that certain requirement brings with it? And if in the case of, especially in an automotive system, we have multiple levels of requirements and system design, from a feature level, subsystems to a component part level. So there are very different teams involved and different supplier levels involved. And we need to make a good job in the decomposition and provide an environment and a good process that can support that. And then this process will not stop. In the end, we build and implement the product, and we verify the implementation, and then we learn something. We learn in testing and in other verification techniques, such as design verification or inspections of a design, that our requirement was too loose, or our requirement was too strict, or we missed something completely, and then we have to start the cycle again with this feedback. And as we see here, it can be a very fast cycle, or it can be a very slow cycle. It just depends how much agility we want to give our organization.